Welcome back to another episode of Excuse My Grandma. It's Kim and my co-host,
Grandma Gail.
Just for those tuning in, if you have or haven't already, can you please rate the podcast 5 stars wherever you're listening and leave a little review if you're listening on Apple. It would help us a ton. So right now we're in Palm Beach. We're celebrating Passover this week. I know a lot of our listeners are celebrating Easter as well.
And I think we're going to do both. We're going to have our usual Passover Seder, which is wonderful, with as much family as we can gather. And then we're going to celebrate Easter with a little cake. I'm just going to get a cake, a bunny cake, which always makes me happy for Sunday.
I did have a little bit of FOMO growing up. Do you know what FOMO is?
No.
Fear of missing out.
Well, now we're not missing out because we're going to have every holiday.
No, but I know what I'm saying. Like when the little kids did the chocolate like Easter bunny hunt.
Right. The egg hunt.
The egg hunt. That was always a cool thing.
Yeah, but we used to do that.
Yeah, I actually think I did do that now that I'm thinking about it.
Yeah, you did it down in Florida. We used to run around the lawn of the Breakers.
They did one?
Yes, and when you were really little, you don't remember it. And you used to collect it in baskets.
Oh, okay. Well, Palm Beach came in clutch for us then.
Exactly.
I don't know.
The eggs were better than the matzah we had to eat. but we're doing both, so it doesn't matter.
So we did make your brisket this week a little bit in advance because we wanted to make a video about it. And a lot of people loved the video. Some people were getting a little pissed that we didn't share the full recipe because we shared the recipe, but personally, Grandma uses 1 or 2 special ingredients that we didn't bring up, but you could still make it
really
without
not
it.
Necessary.
Yeah, they're not necessary.
I sometimes put in a little bit of tomato paste, but in this particular one, I didn't do it. So, but sometimes I do, depending if I have it in the pantry.
But someone commented, let me guess, Lipton onion soup mix.
Oh, I don't use that. It's much too salty.
But I guess a lot of people do.
Yeah, well, people like to cut. You know why? Because they cut corners. They don't want to chop up the onions, which you did.
Oh, okay.
And you did such a good job, Kim.
Oh, thanks. Well, also, someone wrote, my grandma Ruth would put Coca-Cola in her brisket. That was her secret ingredient.
Yes, and you know what? So does your uncle do the same thing. Jeffrey does it too. It adds a little bit. Instead of putting, like some people put a little bit of wine in, it adds the acidity to the meat. And it's just a personal preference, and every single family has a little twist to their meals. So, and they all taste delicious, and plus the fact you're sharing it around the table with people you love, so it makes it always good.
Yes. Another video we did this week was rating Jewish celebrity men and whether they're good enough to date.
I know, and of course, mine was Mel Brooks. I think I gave you a 10 for Paul Rudd.
Yeah. I mean,
you can't go bad with him.
There were a lot of Paul Rudd fans in the comments.
I'm sure. He's like the most perfect person.
Yeah.
But the other contenders were good too.
Andy Samberg. Someone was like, yeah, he's actually really good looking in person. I don't know where they met him,
they're all very smart and very accomplished.
Yes.
And of course, my favorite, if you watch the video, is Mel Brooks. So he's my all-time favorite.
Other things that we've been up to, you've been here. I was in Seattle. I was in New York. I was kind of running all over the place.
You were really jet-setting this week.
Yes.
You were out and you saw the women's Final Four game. One of the matches.
Right. Well, I was there because we're doing a partnership with Amazon over the next year or so. And so they invited me out with some of the other influencers that they're working with who were all so fun and great. And we did some like Seattle activities. We went to Pike Market and did a cooking class.
It looked terrific. Your videos were great, Kim. So for those who haven't seen it, you should definitely go on to her page and look at it because it was really neat.
And this wasn't part of what they organized for us, but you told me to go to the Chihuly Museum.
Well, I love him. He's one of my favorite glass makers, and he comes from that area. That's where he originates from, and his sculptures have been all over the world. I saw them in London in Kew Gardens. They were at the Botanical Gardens in in the Bronx. They've been all over, and he puts them in with nature. So, and the ones you showed me were also in with the plants, which I think is so beautiful. Sometimes he floats them in water.
Well, this was they had a garden, and it was like within the garden, almost looking like trees and plants and stuff. And
They're
then
gorgeous.
Inside the museum, they had like kind of sea life oriented ones.
Yeah, I've seen they had videos of him on, a long time ago on one of the channels. details on how he started his career, and he got blinded by the glass, one eye, because it went into, by mistake, it flew back at him.
I'm surprised they don't wear.
In one, well, I think now they have to.
No, because when we went to the in Venice, when we saw them blowing the glass, were they wearing goggles?
I don't know.
I didn't wear goggles when I tried it.
You're right, but we weren't really going into the ovens.
True.
They put it on the stick for us, and you were like circulating it.
Also, his pieces, Julie's pieces, are such a large scale. It's very different.
And they're so amorphic. They look like they're shells and flowers, and they're just gorgeous. So I think anybody who's in that area, it's a treat to go out there.
Yeah, that was a cool thing, and I had a great time.
So that was good. And I must say that I missed you terribly. We did something when you returned, and it was so funny. I tried to work the Poppy's computer, and we got the camera upside down. So I was upside down. So you have to teach me some of
that
these
was when
things.
I was in New York, and we were trying to do a Zoom call to talk about, excuse my grandma stuff. And you were just upside down the whole time. I was like, this is not.
Maybe I should have gone upside down. Then I would have been right side up.
Yeah. Well, next time. Hopefully there's no next time.
Yeah, exactly.
We got to figure out the Zoom. We got to sit down and do all of this stuff.
You have to teach me. I need really supervision.
So for our dating topic this week, we want to talk about, obviously the holidays are now coming up this week, Passover, Easter, and a lot of people will be with their families and also bringing home new significant others for the holidays.
And added family members from each other's different families around the table, which always makes for either a wonderful evening or a very nerve-wracking one.
Yeah. So do you have any general advice?
Well, I think, depending on where you are in a relationship, if both families know each other, then it's much easier. And many a time, I've done this. You say to one family, you'll make the potatoes, I'll make the brisket, and you all get into it. So it's much more relaxed.
Like the in-laws, you're saying?
Well, either in-laws or even families that are together all the time, and you're dating and the children are dating, but you know each other, so you can be a little more casual with that.
I don't know anyone who's just dating and their families merge. I feel like they usually go to one family or the other.
Well, yeah, but if they live, yes, that's true. But that does happen. But sometimes one goes to one on Good Friday and one goes to one on Easter. Like we have 2 nights of Passover. Right. You go to one house one night, one house another. But the more important thing is the newer families that get together. It's a little more strained, and I think the conversations can be a little more difficult because you don't know all the background on the parents. And I think everybody has to sort of chill out, listen to have a little bit of fun thing, go around the table, introduce yourselves, what your likes and dislikes are, your peeves. Make a game over out of it, almost like a Trivial Pursuit game. Try to find
I feel like playing an actual game actually is a good icebreaker as well, like whether it's charades or like something along those lines.
Yeah, well, we went to a luncheon, Kim and I, recently, where the hostess handed out little cards. They come in a little small box, and just to break the ice, you ask different questions, and you have other people say, I think that's going to be how you would respond or something like that. So I think sometimes that can work. I think don't get on too controversial subjects. I don't think right now is the time we have to discuss politics unless you feel like it, but if you do it, be respectful. What else would you say?
What I actually find the most interesting are relationships that are in its first few months around the holidays, and that's what a lot of my friends come to me with, where they're just like, should I invite him to the holidays? We've been dating for like a month, Well, I actually think that's difficult unless he's by himself. If somebody has a family locally that he could go to or she could go to, I think the place, if you're only dating a month, you should do that. If somebody is alone in a city or in wherever you live and you have a family gathering, I think you should invite somebody. It's a time to extend, your hand. It might not be a permanent relationship for either one of you, but still it's nice not to be alone on the holidays, whatever holiday. But if they're
not,
if they do have their separate family gatherings, it's not necessary to make appearances at each other's.
Correct. And always in the Passover ceremony, we we always keep an empty chair for Elijah to come in. So now you can keep the empty chair for the young man or the young woman who you might
just in case any
in.
of my exes want to drop in. I'm going to set multiple chairs up for Elijah. They can all hang out.
They can all hang out and talk.
But I wanted to say also, for interfaith couples, let's say your family's doing a Passover, and obviously, okay, let's say your boyfriend is Catholic, and you're like, he's not going to be doing Passover with his family. He doesn't celebrate Passover. So do you then need to bring him because he's not doing anything, or it doesn't matter because...
I think you should bring him, and he should come and see how you celebrate. And then I think you respectfully should go to his family or to church with him and see how he celebrates. I think if you're in a interfaith relationship, then you have to know what's going on both sides, because
even early on.
Well, early on. I wouldn't do this if you're not boyfriend and girlfriend.
Yeah, of course. But I'm saying, like, let's say you've been
acquaintance.
dating for like 6 months.
Well, then I think you're a relationship.
You're
in a relationship, and I think it's right to know each other's backgrounds and be respectful. And you evidently, it doesn't matter to you, so you should learn from both sides. And enjoy it, because it is a joyous time, and it is a time to be together with family.
Okay, now we can go to Grandma Gail's headlines of the week.
Well, this week has been a busy week. Firstly, I'm very aggravated over the journalist that the Russians from the really almost kidnapped, who is a major reporter for the Wall Street Journal. I mean, how dare them in Russia take away our freedom of the press? They're there on privileged basis. They know that they're reporting on what's happening, and this is just blackmail by the Russian government, and they probably want some kind of exchange that we'll give them, because this young man does not deserve to be behind bars, as are other hostages that they are also keeping. So I think everybody at this time of the year, when we're together with family and we're praying, we should be praying for this young journalist, because it's an absolute disgrace, and we better not be weak in our demands. We need to get him out, just like we got Griner out, and just like we've gotten other hostages out. We need to put a full court press on this. Of course, the other thing that we have to discuss it. It's one way or the other. President Trump had to go from Florida to New York to be indicted for.
There was a little bit of traffic here in Florida when he was leaving.
Lots of trucks and lots of people.
Would you call them protesters?
No, they're supporters. They're not protesting Trump here. They love.
Well, they're
Trump
protesting him testifying. Being indicted
on the charge.
So
that
they're
he was
kind of
indicted
protesters.
For. I mean, this is not a life and death thing to have a payoff for a porn star. No former president of the United States since its inception has ever been criminally indicted. So this is a very serious issue, and it should be above party politics. And so that's my message to our government leaders. We better wise up. And
listen to Grandma Gail. Wise up.
Wise up and stop being reckless.
1950s movie of the week.
Well, I was thinking about that because the other night I was flipping through channels in between all the basketball games, and I saw the 10 Commandments again. And that could be one of the longest. Charleston Heston was terrific when he carries the tablets down from Mount Sinai to his people in the desert.
I don't think I saw this.
Oh my gosh,
this is different than
classic.
the Mel Brooks one where he's dropped.
No. Yeah, well, he dropped it. Mel Brooks drops the 10 Commandments.
Yeah, that's what I saw.
No.
Okay, this is different.
This is supposedly the actual way that Moses got the tablets with the burning bush.
Okay.
I mean, Charleston Heston was there 3,000 years ago.
Right, of course.
So anyway, it's a beautiful movie. What's so beautiful, actually, besides the acting is a little hammy now that you see it 40 years later, but the color is so pretty. The Technicolor. I think
it was they boost the Technicolor films.
Maybe they do.
Because they have to restore it.
Well, it was really I watched it and I really enjoyed it again. So for those who are sitting around with their little kids who really would like to see how a story is developed, how really the whole exodus from Egypt was, it's a wonderful movie and should be watched by everybody together. It's fun.
Okay, another great episode of Excuse My Grandma. Rate us 5 stars. If you haven't, send it to your friends. Follow us. We're on social media. You just write in, excuse my grandma, and we'll see you next week.